Welcome and welcome to SlyMedia TV. Welcome to our current affairs program, where today we are going to be discussing everything economics. Let me say that we want to focus on the country's economic performance on this program. And we know that the government has projected that the economy is going to grow by over 5% in 2022. Other figures show that in 2021, the economy grew by 7%. And we're going to be looking at those figures. We want to also focus on the financial sector, the exchange system, and to try and see how our economy is performing. And to help me deal with the questions that we have with regards to our economy and economic performance, we have in the studio Professor Gift Mugano. Professor Gift Mugano is a professor of economics at the University of Zimbabwe. He is an author of numerous papers. He is also an author of 3 books that deal with various subjects that also speak to the economy. And we are going to be introducing him just now. When I was looking at his profile, it is endless. It goes on and on and on. So I just decided to pluck a few to say that these are some of the works that the professor has done, and we are going to be assisted by him to have an understanding of our country's economic performance. My name is Prof Gift, and when we come back from a short break, we're going to go straight into our program. With 2023 beckoning and the election frenzy in the country becoming more stronger each day, politicians are increasingly becoming visible, making more and more promises.
Primary education from grade 1 to grade 7 must be provided completely free.
Every village, in 3 years, there will be a ball in Orana solar.
Patinongopinda tunhu chokutanga kukudzorerai pamakasiyiwa navamugabe. Toda kudzorera maticha kwavaiva kwokuti ticha aizikanwa semunhu aitenga zikoti zheadmaster nenyaya yokuti anga ane udzamu nedigini.
But are these promises going to be fulfilled? The electorate is pondering on who to vote for in the council, parliamentary, and even presidential election. We bring you the candidate, where we interrogate their plans, their manifestos, their programs, to make sure that we give you information to make a choice on who to vote for. The candidate on SlyMedia TV every Wednesday from 6 p.m. Welcome back and welcome to SlyMedia TV. Let me also say to those that are watching, that are tuned in, you can go ahead and invite others so that they don't miss this exciting discussion that we're going to be having, where we are dealing with the country's economy and the country's economic performance. How is our economy performing? We want to, at the end of this program, have an understanding of how the economy is performing. And like I said, we have in the studio, Professor, I always call you Dr. Professor Mugano, Gift Mugano. Welcome to SlyMedia and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Perfect, yes. And thank you for inviting me
here. Prof, let's start from the beginning. We want you to paint a picture of how our economy is performing.
Right, so basically, when you look at our economy, the major big elephant in the room is exchange rate challenges. Mm-hmm. We're at a point where the rate is running away and is not stopping, and the inflation is also running away. Mm-hmm. I think the rate now is around 350 Zimbabwean dollar against $1 US.
That's on the parallel market.
On the parallel market, that's the correct rate. Of course, the government rate is there are 2 rates of government actually. Mm-hmm. There's auction system rate, which is 155 against $1 US. Mm-hmm. There's also an interbank, which is official because it was officialized by government, which is around 240, 230, depending on which bank you go to.
So before you go any further, just explain to us the difference between the auction rate and the interbank.
Right. So the auction rate. that's where you go and get money from the auction system, and there's a rate of 155.
Yeah.
But government then allow the banks to trade in foreign currencies through issuing a statement after the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, where banks can trade with individuals, corporates, up to $1,000 in foreign currency, and there's a rate which emerges in that market. So it's official rate because it was authorized by government. So it's around 240. It's not, you get many rates because it depends which bank you go to.
Yeah.
But there's a challenge. How do you have two official rates?
Yeah, that's what I was going
which
to
are
ask.
different.
Yeah.
It tells you serious confusion in as far as the policy matrix which we have is concerned. Then of course you have the parallel market rate, which is around 350, right? Why there's a differential between the interbank rate and the official the auction system? It tells you clear fundamental problems that the auction system is controlled. It's not a real rate because these are the same people, same banks, which are having two different rates. So it tells you the challenges around the auction rate.
Yeah.
And why the interbank rate is not going up to match with the black market rate is because the quantum of the amount of money is being traded at the auction or at the interbank is quite small. It's 1,000 maximum. So the black market still remain as a viable alternative market, because if you want to change $10,000, you can't go to the bank because the maximum is 1,000. So there's still a lot of activity on the black market. But if the central bank had not put a cap, I would have seen the convergence between the black market rate and the interbank rate. But all the same, we have three rates.
Yeah.
And that is the center of distortions. And you cannot run an economy with three prices of one commodity.
Yeah, you spoke about the rates being controlled.
Correct.
And we want to find out now what are the challenges with controlling the rate.
So you control a product which you don't own, you don't get it. It's as good as going to Mbare Msika. You want to control the price of tomatoes, but you are not a farmer, you don't have it. There will be shortages, all right? We have done it in 2007, remember price controls?
Yeah.
And there were shortages in the shops. So you see shortages in the formal market because the people will not bring their money to the formal market when they know that the price is not making sense. So you must understand that the black market is funded by the diasporans, because last year we got about $1.4 billion, right?
Yeah.
That money is not government money. It comes in.
It doesn't go through proper channels, official channels.
Yeah, even if it comes through official channels, through the money transfers, once I take it, I put it under my pillow. And when I want to change it now, I choose the best market. Which market do I choose? Black market. That's the best, where I get the best rate. So the official market is stuffed of the foreign currency. So you therefore don't have a formalization in terms of how the foreign currency is working. But also to say that exporters are suffering because you have a controlled rate, which is 155, and when they're exporting, 40% of the foreign currency is taken by central bank and is liquidated at 155. The same applies to tobacco farmers. 25% of their proceeds is converted into Zimbabwean dollar at official rate.
Yeah.
And deliberately, the central bank use what? The auction. They don't use the interbank rate as well. So it's a clear way of exploiting businesses, and you are killing businesses. And I can tell you that I have on good authority that a number of exporters have stopped exporting because you cannot export 40% of your foreign currency is taken by central bank, and you are given at a rate of 155. But when you want to import critical requirements, central bank spend 10 weeks. You spend 10 weeks on the queue to get the very same money which you at the end at an official rate. And 10 weeks, you're talking about 3 months, means 4 months, 2.5 months, right? You are waiting for business to take place. Business doesn't stop. You need to get your money instantly. So that's the challenge. But I think it will be a miss if I don't talk about the level of poverty. You say, where is the economy?
Yeah.
The current stats from Zimstats shows that 49% of the population in Zimbabwe, that is 7.9 million people, are in extreme poverty because of the economy. And that's very tragic because it means that when you think of a business, your clients, half of your clients in the country are in extreme poverty. When you are in extreme poverty,
can't afford to spend.
You might go to bed without eating, or they are spending less than $1.90 US per day. So they can't afford this to spend. So this country is not performing. And what is very critical, that this level of poverty ballooned under the new dispensation.
Talk to us with figures.
Right. So in 2018, people in extreme poverty were 29%. 2018. And if you look at inflation, it was 5% in October 2018. Right?
Yeah.
But when the Minister of Finance came with his Cambridge economics and the 2% and all the statutory instruments which you've seen, confused policies, we have over 600 SIs which have been instituted by government since the new dispensation. We have an economy which is run on subsidies and distortions. It's killing business, it's killing the economy. So the number of people now in extreme poverty has increased from 29% in 2018 to 49%. So if you look at that difference, that change from 29 to 49%, is close to 50% increase. Are you with me? In the people. So if you were going to say 29% of the population, so it's about 4 million, right?
Yeah.
Now the people in extreme poverty are 7.9 million. And this is happening under the new dispensation. I'm saying it deliberately, but the government understand the final indicators of how the economy is performing.
Yeah.
That is your surplus, which the minister speaks about, where he starves the economy to try to make a surplus. And what you get is poverty.
So obviously I wanted to then come to you to say, but the minister has been talking to us about surplus, to say that we have surplus in our budget, and how then are we seeing a jump in terms of people who are in serious poverty?
On the record, he has never made a surplus. If you look at the numbers, he's never made a surplus. It was an artificial surplus which is created. For example, workers have made serious wage compression, deliberately avoiding to pay civil servants. At one point, do you know teachers were earning close to $30 per month, real value, right? And you say you make a surplus when you are compressing wages, you are avoiding paying wages, real wages. That's why poverty has gone up, because if the working class is earning below the poverty datum line, you know, the poverty datum line is now close to $100,000 now. And who is earning 100,000? Majority of workers. You know, people's salaries now, for example, teachers can only buy, if they're able to buy enough bread for the whole month. If you look at someone is getting 30,000, for example, net, right? Bread is going for 350. So if you are buying one loaf of bread every month, you need 10,500. If you are buying 3 loaves, you need 30,000. So you can only buy bread with your salary. And you say you are making surplus. The same applies with cooking oil. Do you know how much it's going for? 1.5. Yeah. So if you buy a carton of cooking oil, your salary is gone. So, and someone say, I'm making surplus. You know, what the Minister of Finance is doing is like a father in the rural community who is saying, I don't owe anyone money, but his kids are not going to school, which is very correct. If you look at Zimbabwe now, education system is going into the dogs. If you don't pay for part-time lessons for your kid, the kid will not learn, because the teachers are not able to teach. They teach 2 days a week. That's the reality on the ground. Go to the hospitals, there are no drug, no paracetamol, no drips, nothing. And you say you're making a surplus. That's why you see poverty has gone up. The most effective indicator of how the economy is going is the level of poverty. Are you making progress in reducing poverty?
Reducing poverty.
If you are not making progress, that's why I say deliberately so. The new dispensation manufactured poverty. You know, from 29%, from around 3 million people, 3.5 somewhere there to 7.9 million people in extreme poverty. So that tells you how the policies are failing to address the real basic issues in life.
It is a gloomy picture that you are painting to us of how the economy is performing. But obviously we have seen government saying that we are undertaking projects, road rehabilitation, dams construction, irrigation. Is that not contributing to economic development?
So without, basically you need roads, you need dams, that's very important.
Yeah.
But you begin from the basics, right? It's like you're a father. Would you focus on looking for a residential stand to build a house for your kids, or you focus on having food on the table? It's a primary important issue. Taking them to school. The kids, they must go to school, you must have medical aid. Those are the basics. Then you graduate now. Even if you want to look at the real investment cycle of any human being, you start from the basics. So this country needs the basics. You cannot talk of building roads when you have no education. We don't have any education anymore in this country. The education system has collapsed, right? Where have you ever seen in a case where results comes out and the teacher disowns the results?
Yeah.
They say these results are fake. They don't reflect how the students performed. In actual sense, they are cooked. They are reflecting a better scenario, right? So I have nothing against the roads, but I have issues in terms of prioritization to say, you must first make sure we live. We don't want to see roads when we don't have medicine in the hospitals, when we don't have basic things which are required in our hospitals and the clinics. Let's deal with the basics first. Let's make sure the education is working. Let's make sure people are working. Then you are building the cake, which will help you now to fund the road. My major issue now, last point on the roads, is that when you hear President Mnangagwa saying, at what cost? They are building the roads using short-term finance, using the budget. And that is where the challenge is, because you are saying, isn't it showing sign of progress? In actual sense, it's retrospective. It's showing you that we have a challenge. That's where the major challenge of this economy is coming from. You don't finance roads using the budget, using a short-term finance. You use the long-term finance, but this is a long-term infrastructure. It doesn't work like that in economics. The Minister of Finance actually knows that very well. You use bonds to fund a road, 10-year bond. I wrote a book chapter on the diaspora investments, and one of my case studies was Ethiopia. The Grand Renaissance Dam was built by the diasporans using the diaspora bond, which was opened last month. It's now operational, that dam. To be the biggest dam in Africa, they expect to generate $1 billion of exports of power, right? Every year, right? They used long-term finance. Now, what are we doing with our money? We put 34.2% for 2022 budget to roads and dams, which is above 340 billion Zimbabwean dollars. When that money is paid to contractors, they are not angels. They go and buy foreign currency. That's why the rate is running away. So you are celebrating development, but there are consequences which are coming with it. But the packaging, the financing model is not the right one. So you have a sense that the power that be want to be seen to be doing something on the roads, because when you look at who is involved in that construction, you see that these are people who are connected to government. So I don't take it with sincerity that they mean it. It's a way of making money. You know, you can't just jump to address a problem which is not urgent, and you can't address people who are dying in hospitals. People are dying, my brother.
But the roads themselves have become a serious problem. I mean, for starters, we are one of the biggest trade partners with South Africa, and the Masvingo Road, for instance, was not accessible now. So
I want you to get me right. I have nothing against road construction, but I'm talking about the prioritization.
Okay.
Do you start by putting a road for who? When we are dying in hospitals. That's what I'm talking about. The road has been working, it's functioning. I have no issue with that. My issues on the road are two. First one is the financing model. What you are seeing in the economy is because we are pumping money in the economy. That's why you see that Ministry of Finance has become second central bank for this country. But they're printing money literally by funding the road. There's a lot of money going to the agriculture.
Yes.
This year we're spending over $100 billion going to agriculture. We're spending over $300 billion going to the roads. So almost half of the budget is going to roads and
agriculture.
It's a miss. We want that money to go to education. It must go to health, right? Then you work on a bond to fund the road. Like what they did on the Mtare Bulawayo road. They used group 5, right? That's the right mechanism. We still had a road. But now they are pumping money because that's where everyone is making money. So you are looking from it from an innocent point of view that they are putting the road, but they are helping their stomach. So I don't agree with that. I would want to see long-term finance going to the roads. I want to see triple Ps being an instrument which is public-private partnership being used to fund the roads.
So we
then the budget focuses on social developmental issues.
Yeah. So we have had the pronouncements by authorities saying that the construction that is happening, various infrastructure development that is happening in the country, we are doing it from local resource mobilizations, domestic resource mobilization, and we don't owe anyone anything because we are using our own resources. And how would you take that?
Yeah, correct. So that's correct. That's why I said 34% of the budget is going for capital expenditure, and the major drain of that capital expenditure are roads and the dams, right? But what I'm saying, and I'm sure we'll continue to discuss it as we discuss. That's why we have economic challenges, because the rate is running away because they are pumping money into the economy.
So they are printing money.
They are printing money, yes. Okay. So that's why the rate is running away, and we cannot stop the rate from running away when we continue to pump money into the economy, right? And I said, these people, when they are paid the money, they buy foreign currency, and the rate goes up, right? The same applies with agriculture. When they are pumping money, they buy foreign currency, it goes up. So what do we want? Do we want to have a road, and we have the collapse of the economy? So I'm saying, when we are going to the roads, let's use long-term finance. We've done it before with Mtare Bulawayo Plumtree Road. Let's go for the same model. And I've given you a similar example with the Ethiopians. We have diasporans who are sending $1.4 billion. So it means there's an opportunity for us to tap into the diaspora and say, can we go for triple Ps where they fund the road construction and they get the money through the toll gates, right? So that's what I'm saying. Government doesn't want to do that. Well, because that takes time to work, and also it also limited their capacity to steal those who are connected. So that's what I'm saying. Okay. So we can still have the road using a right funding model. So when you're getting foreign currency from the diaspora and you're funding the road, you are not destabilizing the economy. That's why you see, how do you explain a puzzle where you have good roads, in these roads, right? Let me take away the good road. Because we are seeing that there are potholes again in those roads. You have a road, but the education system is dead. You don't understand it because you are sending your kids to good schools. But when you go to the government schools, there's nothing happening there. So we are having a generation which is now being forfeited by government policies. You go to clinics, you go to hospitals, the basics are not there. Even the stationery is not there. And you have roads. Does it make sense? It's like you are saving for money to buy a residential stand, but you can't send your kids to school. You can't take care of your kids who are sick. You can't even take care of your families. But you say, I'm saving money for a residential stand. People say, you're stupid, father.
So let's move on a little bit. We know that in October 2021 at the Parliament of Zimbabwe, pre-budget consultations, you predicted that the parallel market or the black market rate would reach 400 Zim dollars against a dollar by June 2022. And you also spoke about the issue of dollarization of the economy. it seems that these things are happening, because you were giving us a rate of 350 now on the parallel market. Now, what we want to find out from you is we want you to take us through the whole process, the whole system, and what informed your predictions, as you said then.
Thank you very much. So you see, what informs my prediction is to understand the pillars which support a local currency. The current pillars in the economy, are they sufficient enough to guarantee sustainability of Zimbabwean dollar? So what I was saying to the Minister of Finance during the pre-budget consultations was that stop funding construction work, which what we're talking about right now. That when you are putting money into construction, you give Chinese Zimbabwean dollars. You think Chinese will take money to China, the Zimbabwean dollar? They go with the foreign currency. The same applies to Zimbabweans. Even if I'm an angel, I'll go and buy foreign currency once I get Zimbabwean dollar. So the current funding model of government on infrastructure kills the Zimbabwean dollar, because you are pumping money into the economy, and when you pump money into the economy, the rate run away. So what happens in economics now, when we talk of function of money, the two key functions of money is store of value. The second one is medium of exchange. I don't talk about others. So those two, if the Zimbabwean dollar is being attacked by inflation, which is caused by excessive money getting to the market, and also exchange rate spiral, it can't store value, that money. So what it means immediately, when I get the Zimbabwean dollar, I want to change it. Because it's not going to store value. And I cannot respect it as a medium of exchange, because it will be rejected. How do I keep it as a formal medium of exchange when it is changing value every day? So when you look at why I said June, because when the budget is done, from April, that's where there's increase in expenditure by government. First by, we're going to winter wheat, funded by government. And for you to go to winter wheat, it means you must remove maize for you to put the winter wheat. So it means you have to pay for the maize. So there's excessive payment of money by government from April. In April, there's also tobacco coming in, and there's 25% paid in Zimbabwean dollar. So when the farmer is given 25% in Zimbabwean dollar, that farmer quickly changes that money into US dollar.
On parallel market.
Parallel market again. Construction will be, look at the Minister of Transport. He's busy now on TV showing what he's doing. It means money is getting to the people. Money is being released. So you look at the patterns, how these events has been happening. So from April to June, that's where we have a renewed increase in spending. But it doesn't end in June, it continues to December, right? But what I think is that when we reach that point where the rate is now moving to 400, I believe the market will reject the Zimbabwean dollar, which is already happening now. That is how you analyze. I think it requires someone who is not conflicted, because I don't think the Minister of Finance can see that. But obviously he's a Minister of Finance and he serves his principles. So you don't know how they relate in terms of being honest with each other. You want to please your boss. But some of us, we are independent, so we can be able to say what we see. But it's clearly an issue of expenditure and how that informs the current performance.
Speaking of yourself as an independent economist and analyst, we know that at some point you were advising government. What happened?
So I was working for the World Bank Business Enabling Environment Program, the Ease of Doing Business, from 2014 to 2018. So it was a timed program funded by UK Aid. But I think the experience is that government is not sincere when it comes to reforms. They are not sincere. Anything which cuts distortions, which makes a market-led economy is not welcome, from my experience, from my interaction, because that's how people in government makes money. That's why you see they don't want to let go distortions on agriculture, on construction, because that's where they make their money.
And want you to talk to us about the recent pronouncements by President Mnangagwa. He said that they were going to be pushing for local currency and ensure that any business that goes against that pronouncement or statutory instrument, if it's going to be a statutory instrument, they're going to be labeled saboteurs and are going to be dealt with.
Yeah, so I'm happy that this program is listened by even the president. This is a very popular program, and I hope you get my advice. He's being misled by his government ministers. The current issue, current debate is economics debate. It's not a political debate. For us to have Zimbabwean dollar, there are 6 conditions which must be in place. So he must deal with those conditions first, than to go for political statements and try to arrest business, because it doesn't work. And I will take you back to 2019, June, 25 June. Minister of Finance immediately launched the local currency. And I was the first one to comment on it on a local radio. And I said that it's not going to work. We're going to go for US dollar again back in 2020 March. And it happened. So I want to renew that discussion. For us to have our own currency, which we should have, we must have single-digit inflation. Yeah. We must have fiscal consolidation.
At the moment, our
inflation
stands at
72%, right? And in my prediction, we are expecting to be 100% around June, right? Right. Stephen Hang, one of the gurus on currency issues, he already said that our inflation is 189%, and I believe him. Yeah, he has never missed his analysis. It's quite renowned. So you must have a single-digit inflation. Why? Because you need to have the currency having the store of value. So when inflation is running away, it's being eroded. It becomes the acid on currency. The second issue is fiscal consolidation. We must have a reduction in national debt. Do you know what is our debt now according to IMF? It's 19-point-something billion dollars, which is almost 20 billion. In this new dispensation, our debt doubled. This new dispensation is doing things wrong. Doubled, because it was around 10 billion. And no one knows where this debt is coming from and where the money is going to. And why a debt issue is a challenge to currency? Because when you are servicing the debt, it attacks the currency. And you can't even borrow money to support the currency, the foreign currency, because you are already debt-ridden, right? So that's the second one. So we need to be clearing these debts before we bring the Zimbabwean dollar. The third one, you must have...
And is there any likelihood of us clearing?
No, we can't clear because already in about 3 years or so, it's doubling, right? So we're taking a wrong turn, right? The third one, we must have stability in the exchange rates. Stability. Where I sit, the rate is not about the quantum of the rate. Because if you look at this South Korea, the won against the Zimbabwean dollar, it's about 1,000 won against the US dollar. But it has been like that for...
It's stable.
It's stable. Japanese yen is 150, somewhere there against US dollar. Stable. So we need a stable exchange rate, which remain where it is. If it is 350, it must remain at 350 for a long time. Then the currency won't be attacked. That doesn't lose value, right? Then the fourth one, you must have current account surplus. Right now, with a current account surplus, yes, that I can confirm, almost $1 billion a year. But the major driver for current account surplus is the diaspora. So again, that even if we have it, we have a challenge because that money is not available in the official banking system. Because it's in my pocket. Once it comes, I take it in my pocket, I go to the black market. So you need a right exchange rate for this money to find itself in the official banking sector for you to be able to use it for imports. The other condition, you must have budget surplus. We don't have that, right? So these are the building parameters which must be in place first. So His Excellency, he must get this right. Because, you know what, I have begun now to develop a theory which is called the current cycles. Because Zimbabwean currency goes into US dollar. After maybe 3 years, we go to Zim dollar. Then we come back to US dollar. We are doing merry-go-around because policymakers are using emotions to address this issue.
And the effect of these cycles on the economy?
They're eroding our savings. They are eroding our medical aid, our insurance schemes. They are eroding cash flows for companies. You can't plan, you can't predict, and the companies will end up closing down. You cannot, in business, you need to have a clarity for next 5 years.
Yeah.
So we can't have this. So you then don't get investors. That's why you see, in terms of investors, we are getting 1.1% of our GDP when it comes to investors. Yet we used to get 25% of GDP in terms of foreign direct investments in 1990s. And the economy was working. So this affects how the economy is working. It affects planning. It kills people's lives. That's why you see poverty level has gone to 49%. Because you can't save, your salary can't hold value, and you go into poverty. Yeah. So what I'm saying, His Excellency, he must not take the route he's taking. The country must have a position paper, a de-dollarization roadmap, which is a 5-year plan, which must have a robust indicators on how we are addressing single-digit inflation, fiscal consolidation, current account surplus, exchange stability, and also things like a budget surplus, right? We must have those indicators, and we must work together as a country in a social contract. We must have a social contract where a business agrees that we are going to do this. Because in a social contract, you give concession that we need to meet these targets together, and you need to forfeit certain privileges which must be done. So it's a painful move. And we should not use the statutory instruments to address current issues. Because we did it in 2019, 25 June, and it failed.
Actually, I wanted to then ask you to say, what, as a citizen, as businesses, what form of redress do we have when a statutory instrument is thrown and tomorrow the money is 1:1?
So basically, what must be done whenever you are doing any policy making, there's a policy making cycle. It started by diagnosing the problem. I like medical doctors. They are very smart people. They don't cure you when they don't know what is your ailment. You can even die, they don't care. They'll give you a painkiller and say, hold on. We want to do specimen tests. We want to do diagnostic analysis. All the tests, they'll do it. They can even take a month. They are a constituency which is very deliberate in their profession. And that is the same thing you must do as economists. But the challenge, our job is hijacked by politicians. They want to do what is not their business. That's why you hear the president say, I'm going to put a statutory instrument. From where? So we need to do a similar approach like medical doctors, where you diagnose the economy.
Problem,
You identify root causes against symptoms. And you go deeper to say, how do you address these root causes? How do you, because our challenge as a country, we have a structural problem, we have a production challenge. So that's where the issue is. So how do we deal with production? How do we deal with inflation? All these things, the 6 conditions I've talked about. Then we have a white paper on each specific issue. That's why you see Malaysia, in 1995, they went for a Langawe dialogue, the great Langawe dialogue, where they sat down and diagnosed their problem. Zambia did the same after when the Kwacha had fallen. And they also had what? Their own 3-month retreat, doing analysis, coming up with a solution. And when you go to Zambia today, you'll be so amazed. Things are working. Things are cheap. The Kwacha and the Rand is almost 1:1. So amazing. So here we are using emotions. So we need to go through a normal policy cycle, diagnose, have a proper analysis of the options which are available, have discussion, build consensus. It's very critical. You need to build. That's why you have a social contract. Then you implement together. Croatia had a 3-year working group in various clusters to solve their challenges which they were facing. So we must have working groups. You don't want government when they are sitting wherever they are. But they say, we are doing this and you take it by force.
That's exactly what I wanted to say to you. That the problem that you're bringing on the table is that there is too much interference from politicians. How then are we going to circumvent that?
The role of politicians and government, particularly government, right, is to develop policy, but it must be an inclusive, evidence-based, and well-consulted policy. Are you with me? Inclusive and evidence-based and well-consulted policies. Not just prophesying and you are throwing to the people and you are using emotion. That's why I'm saying His Excellency must stop whatever you want to do in as far as the statutory is concerned. If he does it, I will still tell you that we don't need 9 months to go back to US dollar. This time around, we don't even need them. It will just fail. You know, the implementers of policies are not government. It's business, you and me.
Yes.
We are the one who implement the policies. So if you force it on people, they will just ignore it. Like now, we have SI 127, right?
Yeah.
Which compels businesses to use the auction rate as an official exchange rate when you are pricing. Who is following that? No one. Because it's a useless statutory instrument which was informed by emotions to force people to use a rate which does not make sense. People will not do that. Because I am having my capital. I have to defend my capital.
Yeah.
So I better go to jail by defending my capital. Even the same government is not using that. Go to state-owned enterprises. They're not using that rate. So who is going to use that statutory instrument? Who is going to be affected by that side? No one. So I simply say government must not use emotions. Economics is a science of choice. You know, you can't use emotions. You only use the emotion at the rallies. But when it comes to economics, it's a science of choice. You have to make a choice informed by science. You have to use the evidence. You have to contextualize your situation. They must do a paper and understand out of the 33 countries which dollarize, how did they come back to US dollar? Panama dollarized since 1919. Up to now, they use US dollar. Why? Are we not going to be Panama? Mozambique dollarized, they came back. Zambia, they came back. What magic they have used? Use evidence. Contextualize your situation. What the government must understand, Zimbabwe has got human capital. Highly educated people. Good human capital, high level of human capital can be a blessing or a curse. In our instance, it's now becoming a curse because people are spinning the government. You come with this policy, they innovate, they become innovative. They go around the policy, they survive. So you need to engage these people in a robust way, in a sober way, in an inclusive manner. That's why we must go for dialogue and have a social contract. And each and every stakeholder in that policy making, within the ecosystem of policy making, academics, business, civil society, trade unions, government, must sign an agreement on how we are supposed to be behaving to achieve those goals. That's what should be done in running a country.
And the new administration is, this administration has been talking about engaging all those sectors you're talking about, business, the academia. Has that happened?
It's all rhetoric. They are not engaging anyone. They're not engaging anyone. They just write it in their papers that we have engaged academic, we have engaged, and they don't listen. I was in Vic Falls, and I'm telling you, I was with the Minister of Finance, Governor of Central Bank. I was a discussant to their presentation. We told them, what you are doing is wrong. They don't even listen. Didn't you hear Chief Charumbira making noise at Sheraton after the budget consultation when he was saying that this is not what we agreed in Vic Falls about the tax on phones, if you remember, right? They are not even listening to their own MPs, their own people. So whom are they engaging? We told the Minister of Finance, stop subsidies, stop construction work which is short-term finance. He never listened. We have moved through a journey where we say, if you do this, it will happen. I always feel that we should not be a monopoly of wisdom, right? But when we speak and you see it's happening, you must reflect in the future. We've moved through a journey where he brought the local currency in 25 June 2019, and we told him you need 6 conditions. And I was very clear that by March 2020, we are going to be having US dollar, and it happened. Now, the same conditions which pushed us to have US dollar have been renewed, and you told him in Vic Falls, remember, Minister, this is where we have been in 2019 March, and we are going back again. Stop this. He doesn't listen. So even if they consult, it's just procedural. They don't listen. In fact, what I've seen in government, they have a serious intellectual arrogance.
Yeah.
Yeah, these ministers.
Okay. So recently, the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industry issued a paper where the paper was looking at a number of challenges and solutions proffered in that paper. And we also saw the RBZ responding to that paper. Now we want to know from you if you are able to then unpack to us the two statements, the two papers, one from CZI and the response from the RBZ.
Right, so after I unpack it, you see that government doesn't listen to anyone.
Okay, that's the bottom line.
It's a practical example where we can show the audience that government doesn't listen to anyone. So CZI paper was a very good paper. It was focusing on the current challenges you have, being centered around the exchange rate issue.
Yeah.
So the observation by CZI were that the auction system is not working, right? Because when you get the money, the allocation, you spend more than 10 weeks and above before the money is released. The Dutch system, the auction system, is not the real Dutch system. It's a manipulated platform. It's actually a fake Dutch system.
Right? The one that we use.
The one which we are using. An auction system, which is a Dutch system, must have at least three key critical points which must be working. First, when you go to the auction system, you must know how much money is available for the auction. It's like you are going to the car auction. You must know how many cars are there in advance. Or the cattle auction or the goat auction in Mbudzi. You must know that there's so much amount of cows or goats. The Reserve Bank is not advising the public how much money they have for that week. So so we are violating the Dutch system, number one. The second point, when you are doing auction, people know when they go for the car auction, the highest bidder use the highest price. Yeah. Even when you go to auction, the same. But our auction is an average. How do you use an average rate? So you are encouraging lower bidders, people who are going to come with a lower rate, and it weighs down the exchange rate. But if I know that I bring a lower rate, I don't get money, I come with the highest rate. So you have a truly price discovery, a correct exchange rate. So you're encouraging people to come with a lower rate because at the end of the day, you're going to get the average. Are you with me? So that violates again the Dutch system because you must have the highest bidder rate, not the average. The third one, once you get the money, when you go to the auction for the car, do you take 10 weeks to get your car? You get it immediately. So once you get your money, you must be given the money immediately. So again, we are violating. So CZI said that they must disband the auction system.
Could that be an indicator that there is no money that's being auctioned?
No. They are manipulating because that's where corruption is taking place. Okay. So I get a sense, this I will be prophetic. I don't have evidence. But I get a sense that there's someone is deliberate who wants the rate to be lower because when you have distortions, that's where you make money. Even if you aren't corrupt, but still, when you get the money at 155, clearly you have privilege because you are connected to people who are making decisions. People are making money in town using the auction market because you make 100% profit when they exchange it without doing anything. So I get a sense that's the intention because there's no any economic reasoning for anyone to deliberately violate all the Dutch auction and they still want to make noise and say the auction is working very well. What is working there? There's nothing working there. So since I said, let's disband it. Let's have the true market rate, right? These are the key issues, the number of issues. Now, and they also said that central bank must not rate people's money in the accounts. They did not say central bank is rating money. They said you must not rate money because we know how government behaves. When they are desperate, they rate people's money. It happened before during Gono's time. They rated over $2 billion. So they were
so that our viewers also know and are clear on this one. Is that happening? Are they raiding now?
They are not raiding money, but once bitten, twice shy. So you want the person because when they are desperate, they have that temptation of doing that. So see, I say, don't. What is wrong with that? If you are not going to raid, why are you making noise? Just keep quiet. Don't raid. So central bank, when they were now responding, they were very emotional about that subject of people's accounts.
Yeah.
But no one said they are raiding. They're saying, we encourage you, we advise you that you must not raid. We encourage you to disband the auction system because it has failed. And they said it is not failed. So I believe that the response of central bank to business was offside. It was a wrong turn. When you disagree with the business, you don't write a letter or a press statement to reply. You know, it shows a lack of maturity on the part of policymakers. What Sincerity said, which is very profound in that document, is that let's go to Vic Force with the Minister of Finance and his team and lock ourselves in a room and deliberate the economic challenges. They gave an offer as a business, right? And the central bank did not take that call by business. People who are doing the job creation, who are running this economy, and you write a press statement to say, get off, discard Sincerity's report. So whom are you going to work with? Is central bank prepared to go now into manufacturing and do the business? Because the business said, we want to talk.
Yeah.
The government does not make a loss on the exchange rate. Who is making the loss are the exporters. If anything, they are actually eating where they have not sown anything. So someone who is suffering say, let's talk, and you say, go to hell. You can't do that. So central bank in this instance was offside.
Yeah.
And it actually answers your previous question where you say, do they consult? You did not consult, and they come with a paper, they give you the paper, and you are hitting back. So we have a tragedy in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that being the case, we have a tragedy in this country. How are we going to move out of this tragedy as a country? I see serious fundamental problems here. That there is no consultation, that there is no discussion between industry and the government.
Correct.
How are we going to bring ourselves out of these challenges if we are not dialoguing?
So it's a permanent disease within government. Government is not sincere when it comes to policy making. Remember I talked about the great Langawe dialogue? The Zambian dialogue, which then built the framework for the Zambian economy. In this country, our government doesn't consult anyone. We can go back to Zim Asset. Zim Asset was an NPF manifesto, which became a policy.
Yeah.
And it was donated to us. Now, the current dispensation might say it was Mugabe era.
There was no contribution whatsoever from business or the academic.
Yeah. So then you might say it's Mugabe era, right? But this dispensation, you know the TSP, the
Stabilization Program,
program. It 388 pages, which came from Switzerland with Minister of Finance. We never saw it, and no one knew it.
It came from where?
Switzerland.
We just...
with the Minister of Finance, he was based in Switzerland. He did that paper, he came with that paper, and he launched it.
All right.
He never, you can bring him here.
Yeah.
He never consulted anyone. He just did that paper, and he donated it to us. And it failed dismally because no one owns that document. We don't know it. Now the NDS one.
You say it failed because you see the common person on the street is told that TSP was
Let me give you the numbers.
a serious success.
Let me give you the numbers. What success? It was transitional stabilization program, right? It was supposed to stabilize what? The economy.
Yes.
Within a short space of time, 2.25 years, right? From 2018 to 2020.
Yeah.
October 2018 to 2020, right?
Yeah.
At that point, when it was launched, inflation was 5%. Annual inflation.
Yeah.
Are you with me? Right. So, in July 2020, annual inflation was 837.5%. So, are you saying TSP succeeded to stabilize? You want to stabilize 5% inflation, but by July 2020, you were on 837.5%, and you say you succeeded. Come on. You had poverty in October 2018 of 29% of the population, but by December 2020, is 49%, and it has remained flat.
Yeah.
And you say you've done well in TSP. When you are building poverty like that. So those are the figures. And I want people to listen to the figures. Those are the figures, right? And you have a population which was in a working class, and they were earning above the poverty datum line. Yeah. Now, all the majority of the workers are earning below the poverty datum line. So those are the results which are getting under the TSP and the National Development Strategy 1. When we did our National Development Strategy 1, we were middle income, lower end. Now we are below middle income.
So the dream of us becoming an upper class.
With this direction, no, we cannot get upper class. Even now, we are not even lower class. When we launched our National Development Strategy 1, we were middle income, lower class. We were just above $1,000 per capita. Now we are below 900. So those are the indicators which tells you that we have failed as a country. Domestic debt is now around 20 billion. Are you stabilizing? The exchange rate now is 350. So these are the results which you get when you don't consult. You run it alone. And you hear His Excellency says, I'm going to put a statutory instrument. That's a wrong turn.
So we are going to be reading some of the questions and contributions that you are sending as we are about to wrap up this program. And we are going to ask Professor Mugano here to respond to some of the contributions that you have sent in. Onisimo Dombo says it's true that ZANU, they must stop it, borrowing money. Madi Paddy, we should stop using emotions. That's correct. Maradza Kenneth, if we only had listening government, we will be up there. Then another one here says it's so painful that we have people with vision but no listening government. Some of the comments that are coming from our listeners there. Yeah. Your reaction?
So basically, I'm sure the audience is agreeing to what we are discussing here. I also hope government is listening because government matters in this discussion.
Yes.
They must listen. They must know that running an economy is a serious business.
Yeah.
And I want to repeat that economics is a science of choice. You cannot make decisions which are political without evidence, without proper diagnostic, without involvement of everyone, without consensus. So I hope government is listening because we have suffered from 1998 to date. We are not seeing any light. In fact, this year we are even more doomed than any other year. Yeah.
But again, as a wrap-up now, obviously you have interacted with government officials, including the Minister of Finance and policymakers, for that matter. Do they take on your advice? Obviously, you've told us they don't. What is the reason? Why?
So, I think they must be able also to answer at some point when you call them. But I suspect that these are already established decisions. For example, if you look at agriculture, government officials are conflicted because they are farmers as well. So they don't want to stop funding agriculture because that's cheap capital coming from government and they don't pay back. The PEMSEC of Finance, George Guamatanga, at one interview with the local media house, he said that only 25% had been paid back. So these are freebies. And now we're going into elections. Do you think government will listen to advice that don't pump money into the economy? And they need to brag, they need to be campaigning using our taxpayers' money that they are doing something. They are doing something with my money. I'm giving them taxes, and they behave as if they've done miracles to put the roads using my taxes. So they are using it for campaigning. They don't listen. In this time around, that's why we are more doomed. This is a time where they are campaigning up to June, July next year.
23, yeah.
So they won't listen to anyone. It's a political survival. But I believe that, you know why I like Zambia? Zambia, they've changed the presidents. I think they've done 6 or so presidents.
Yeah.
So I think it must also happen here. We must see change.
But is that the solution?
No, it's a solution. If the driver is taken to the bush, you must get a new driver. You want to go to the bush every day. You know, so I believe, and I am saying sincerely, because when the armed struggle was launched, it was to enforce constitutionalism, to elect leaders of our choice. So it must never have been like the current government should remain permanent there, as if they're a church. That when I go to my church, I should remain permanent there. No. Why I'm saying so? It brings in diversity and competition. And I'm being sincere about this.
But the problem with Africa also is that the issues that you're talking about, where elected leaders are accused of being looters. And when you elect another one who is hungry, they will come.
But I'm talking about Zambia.
Yeah.
They have changed 6 or so presidents. And it tells the current government that if you mess up, you get out. There's nothing wrong about that. But why do we go for election? We go there to choose leaders.
Yeah.
And we must not be apologetic about that. So, and if you go to Zambia, do you know we can't export to Zambia as Zimbabweans? Because our goods are very expensive. And why? Because too much taxes, too much tax instruments, and my research are not making sense. Zambia is doing well. Those are the results. Go to Kenya. They've changed the presidents. And it's working. Right? So you cannot say that because you are in office, you must not be getting out. You must get out. But when you come back, you know what you are doing. So we now have a challenge where we have one person who is doing the same party, doing the same thing over and over. So I'm answering your question to say what should be done. So I'm saying we are wrapping up. Zimbabweans, they must now rethink about what kind of a government do they want. Do they want to maintain this current government, which does not listen, which run with murder without any conscience? People lose their pensions, they lose their savings, they just change the rest willy-nilly. A government which oversees 3 different exchange rates and they don't see any problem. You have the interbank rate, which is 240. You have the auction rate, which is 155. You have the black market rate, which is 350. Yeah. Everything is normal. The same government is blaming business for being saboteurs, but they are the ones who are saboteurs.
So
because they're printing money, which is creating problems. They are funding construction, which is in short-term finance, which is unheard of. And the economy is getting into tatters. So we want accountability, we want honesty. Clearly, we want sincerity from government. And they must be truly a listening government, but they are not. You can even see that the advisors to the president are misleading him. Clearly, they are misleading him. You can't tamper with the currents. It's a very sensitive area. You don't use emotions. You use informed papers which are informed by evidence, consultation, and research, and contextualize the Zimbabwean issue with a sober mind, in a dialogue with a social contract. That's what should be done.
Lastly, are you saying they're not doing these things? Are they not carrying out researches? I'm getting a sense that they're just a government that does nothing.
They are not doing these things. You don't even need the research. You asked me previously that, how do you see this prediction? How do you do this prediction? You look at a pattern. Yeah. So just observing how they've made their policies in the last time, particularly when they went for the local occurrence in 2019 in June, that was enough evidence for government, even the president, to see that it's a wrong turn. Because they forced the currency and they lost it within 9 months. It was, we went back to US dollar. So the same government saying, we want to put a statutory instrument to force the same currency. So they're not doing research. And even as I speak right now, they will take it as if you are just being opposition. But I'm an economist, and I'm a professor for that matter. So I'm speaking my mind as an economist, sincerely, honestly, and because I'm suffering as well, the same way we're suffering. So they don't even listen. I wrote a paper to the Minister of Finance, but there are certain things which you don't want to say in the public, which are detailed, and you want him to use it, so he can have ownership, and you can get the credit. He never, through his officers, He never acknowledged receipt. And when you look at the policy which came through, there was nothing from that paper which was taken. So you do a paper for government and you give them, and they don't take it. So it tells you the kind of government which we have, that they don't respect the views of people. And we continue to suffer because they are the policymakers. That's why I'm saying sometimes when we go for election, we need to make decisions which are going to make a difference. Because when you bring competition to politics, you then get better results. But if you have a monopoly of politics, you get what you are getting today.
So, but people have been going, we have been going to elections and people have been electing the same party.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong about that. But I'm simply saying, if they want to continue to get problems, they must continue to elect the same party.
Let me end it here. We have come to the end of our discussion this morning, where we're focusing on our economy, and to say that what is it that we need to do as a country, as a people, to ensure that our economy is ticking, our economy is competitive, our economy is even competing with other economies in the region, on the continent, and even globally. And to help me do that was Professor Gift Mugano. He's a professor of economics at the University of Zimbabwe, and he's also an author of numerous papers on economics, and 3 books that deal with a number of topics. We're going to have more of these discussions where we are focusing on our economy and try to look at solutions that can help us as a country and develop. I was really looking at the figures that he gave us to say that in terms of poverty, poverty has jumped from what it was and to what it is now, because a number of people or numerous employees are now earning below poverty line. Have a good day. My name is Prof Gift. With 2023 beckoning and the election frenzy in the country becoming more stronger each day, politicians are increasingly becoming visible, making more and more promises.
Primary education from grade 1 to grade 7 must be provided completely free.
Every village, in 3 years, there will be a ball in a solar.
patinongopinda chinhu chekutanga kukudzorerai pamakasiyiwa navamugabe. Toda kudzorera maticha kwavaiva kwokuti ticha aizikanwa semunhu aitenga zikoti zheadmaster nenyaya yokuti anga ane udzamu nejikiniki.
But are these promises going to be fulfilled? The electorate is pondering on who to vote for in the council, parliamentary, and even presidential election. We bring you the candidate, where we interrogate their plans, their manifestos, their programs, to make sure that we give you information to make a choice on who to vote for. The candidate on SlyMedia TV every Wednesday from 6 p.m.